Hello, it's Soul with another video, and today we're going to be doing a read-along, something that I do every now and then, especially right now, because we are going to take a look at we're going to take a first look at the patch 9.1.5 PTR patch notes. They just came out during dinner. Thank you very much, Blizzard Entertainment, for making me speed this along, but we're just gonna get right into it because there are some pretty crazy things that are going on. So let's begin with allied races. New character customization options for the Nightborn, the Lightforged Draenei, and the Void Elves. They say that the PTR, there's going to be a lot of things here that say when the 9.1.5 build first comes out, which we believe to be tomorrow, that a lot of these aren't going to be immediately implemented, which is why it's more exciting to at least look at the patch notes now so we can look forward to what's coming as opposed to what we see tomorrow-ish that we may not see. Moving on. The dungeon quests for unlocking culture in humans, mechanomes, and dark iron dwarves are no longer required. After accepting the dungeon quest, speak to the NPC again to choose to skip the quests. Not as elegant as I would have hoped, but hey, we got it. Here's something new. They're going to add weather effects in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. When's the last time I've been in Orgrimmar? Okay, you know, that to be fair, a lot of folks still visit and hang around and jump on mailboxes and roleplay and other such things. I would love to see it in other places too, but I'm really excited to see what sorts of effects and especially how crazy these effects might be. This might be the start of like much more pronounced weather effects, like, I don't know, like night, or fog, or heavy rain, lightning, and other such things. So I'm looking forward to seeing that soon. Now let's get to classes. Here's the big one. Here's the thing that's many folks have been waiting for. And so I'll read this slowly. All cooldowns, actually this isn't the one, sorry. All cooldowns of 2 minutes or longer, I just totally killed the hype right there. All cooldowns of 2 minutes or longer now reset at the end of raid encounters or when starting a Mythic Plus dungeon. It was 3 minutes or longer. Very nice quality of life change, but this still does not apply to Reincarnation or Ritual of Doom. Here's the big one. Sorry about that, folks. The following AOE abilities are no longer maximum target capped and instead will deal reduced damage beyond 5 targets. And we're going to be seeing this throughout this 2 or so month PTR cycle, which that's going to be my guess. We're not going to see the launch of this patch for roughly 2 months or so, something like that. Let me read their notes. With the launch of Shadowlands, we reduced the maximum number of targets that several abilities could hit, specifically to address a few gameplay problems related to pulling a large number of enemies in dungeons. Players often refer to these changes as the AOE target cap. Our intention was to reduce the effectiveness of burst AoE buttons against large target counts like 15 or 20, while also increasing their effectiveness against these fewer targets and communicating that strength clearly in the tooltips. The abilities that remain uncapped were generally ones that offered lower damage over a longer period of time, like Blizzard or Consecration, along with other changes we set out to move away from pull as many enemies as possible, use all your cooldowns, and delete them as the predominant strategy from across various forms of content. We've received a lot of feedback that these abilities not hitting enemies in their range in any way creates a feel problem for WoW combat, but is also an issue for trivial encounters like farming legacy content. For many of the abilities that underwent the change from uncapped to a strict target cap in 9.0, we're converting the damage to reduced damage beyond 5 targets. That means the ability will deal full damage against 5 random targets and then reduce damage to each additional target beyond 5. This means that while the overall damage done by the ability increases with the number of targets, the individual damage done to each target will decrease. The solution means these abilities and their relative classes will still have a very strong niche against packs of 4 to 6 enemies. As always, tuning will change as a result of this shift over the next few weeks based on your feedback from the PTR. I'll get to the abilities and the list in just a moment. It's nice, I suppose, that Blizzard is acknowledging and reading back to us the feedback that that many folks have given. I don't count. I'm not taking credit for any of this because I just play a tank and I'm just like boom, boom, consecration, whatever. I'm fine. Tanks weren't affected by the AOE target cap change at all. Pretty much everyone else was, though, notably melee classes. So seeing this is going to be nice, I suppose. I kind of understood, I kind of understand what they were trying to originally do here, but at least the way I see it, the solution to that wasn't exactly to introduce the target cap. It would be to change the targets themselves and change that around to do something, something along those lines. It's kind of hard for me to kind of articulate this, but I get it, and I'm pretty happy about it. A lot of folks are complaining about this. Twitter's been all over it. It's all over right now, and so thumbs up. So let's read off. I'm just going to read off abilities and classes, and hopefully you guys will get what I'm understanding as I'm reading these off, assuming that you're not looking at my screen. Death Knight, Sacrificial Pact, A-Bomb Limb, Reanimated Shambler, Consumption, Bone Storm, Frost Scythe, Bursting Swords. And for Demon Hunter, we got Blade Dance, Fell Barrage, Soul Cleave, Spirit Bomb. It says it now deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. It was previously soft capped at 20 targets. Didn't know that. For Druids, we have Swipe, Brutal Slash, and moving on to Hunters, we have Soul Forge Embers, which is a legendary power, Beast Cleave, Multi-Shot, Barrage, Multi-Shot for Marksmanship, Barrage and Explosive Shots. And for Survival, it's Carve and Butchery. For Mages, there's Arcane Echo. For Frost mages, it's Frozen Orb and Glacial Fragments. For Monk, it's Rushing Jade Wind. For Windwalker, it's Fist of Fury and Rushing Jade Wind again. For Paladins, it's good old Divine Storm. For Rogues, it's Fan of Knives and the Crimson Tempest talent. For Subtlety, it's Black Powder, Shuriken Storm, and Secret Technique. For Shaman, it's Storm Elementals, the talent Eye of the Storm. For Warlock, it's Felguard's Fellstorm. For Warriors, it's Whirlwind. And for Warrior Arms, it's Bladestorm, Cleave, Ravager, and Dreadnought. For Fury, they get Bladestorm, and for Protection, they get Ravager. So overall, some nice changes. Again, I'm going to be pretty curious to see how certain dungeons work out, because this whole thing, again, it was mostly centered on dungeons, not so much raids, and to a lesser extent, as they acknowledged, with older content. It was kind of cool seeing players try to be inventive with other things to try to make up for it. Like, I know that there is a certain trinket that you can get from the mission table that does some pretty ridiculous AOE, and it's just like kind of a passive thing, although that wasn't really ideal. But anyway, so I'm going to skip past the class and conduits and covenant changes for now. Basically, there's like buffs across the board, but I have a pretty good feeling that as we go from build to build to build, there's going to be all sorts of tuning up and down and all around. So I'd rather not leave too strong of an impression for folks who are listening in and presume that, oh yeah, cool, it's going to be buffs like crazy, because we have no idea what's going to happen like going down the road. Most of the stuff that I'll be mentioning here, it sounds like, Blizzard is going in a pretty clear direction, and so I'm just going to stick to that, all right? Please forgive me. Moving on to Covenants, though, players who reach a high renown threshold will be able to freely switch among any of the 4 Covenants without cooldown or restriction, as well as use cosmetic rewards that they have earned from one Covenant if they are currently a member of a different one. Both the Covenant switching and the use of cosmetic rewards will also apply to alts once the renown threshold is reached on one character. Yes! Conduit energy has been removed, yes, and conduits will be freely swappable without any restrictions. Again, I still want to know 100% if you're able to like slot and re-slot them instead of just I just want to double check if we can do that without having to go back to the table. I mean, they say any restrictions, just want to make sure, that's all. Completing the Shadowlands or Korthia Covenant campaign on any character allows alternate characters joining that same covenant to be eligible to receive the renown associated with that campaign and all available catch-up sources. So this is more than previously learned. Before we were told, oh yeah, if you complete the 9.0 campaign, cool, you get all the renown and all the cool stuff from that. In this case, we also get the renown from the Korthia Covenant campaign, so we're able to skip both of those things right now. So this is pretty much the renown skip that a lot of folks have been asking for. I haven't mapped it out in my head, obviously, but between the 9.0 campaign and the 9.1 campaign, I think that's going to be at least like 40 some renown that you get. Or actually, by the time you complete the Korthia campaign, I believe your renown was set to like 50 or so. It was like 50 or 51 where you were eligible to complete it. So I think it'll get us all the way to that point. If it doesn't, that kind of sucks. However, not being able to get that much renown, I don't think it's exactly the end of the world either, given how easy it is to catch up with renown anyway. And on top of that, we'll be able to get all, I'll read some more, but, just kind of as a spoiler, we're going to be able to get like the soul binds and all the important unlocks pretty much right away. And I think that's like the next bullet point. Completing the Shadowlands campaign on any character allows alternate characters joining that covenant to immediately unlock their third soulbind. I hope they get their second as well. That'd be kind of silly. There's going to be new covenant toys to discover. Woohoo. For Night Fae, there's going to be new soul shapes to collect. Cool. There's going to be new creature shapes, which, due to their tiny appearances, they're only usable in rested areas. There's going to be an option to soul shape and critter shape into randomly collected appearances. Jelly, sort of. Moving on to Sanctums, going to the adventure table, mall missions that are unlocked by maximum adventure level appear more often and are gated by fewer requirements. I believe the mall missions are the ones that get you the Soul Cinders and the Soul Ash. For the Anima Conductor, the enhancement buffs now persist past the daily resets and work as a buff within all non-instant zones in Shadowlands. Now, I wonder if this includes the Maw. The enhancement buffs, I'm not super familiar with across all the covenants. I know that for the Kyrian, they get like a nice little kind of a cheat death-ish sort of thing, an AOE stun sort of thing like that. So just being able to have that is pretty neat. Since it looks like it's just going to be kind of a permanent thing. I wonder if it's going to be something that just stays on. Like if we go into a dungeon and then we leave the dungeon, does that buff still persist? Is it pretty much forever and we can swap it out or not? I guess we'll have to find out and give some feedback. For the Night Fae and the Queen's Conservatory, all seeds now stacked to 200, which is great because it was 20. All previous locations that award uncommon quality seeds now award rare quality seeds. Haven't done that stuff yet. I'm definitely going to in this patch. Moving on to Redeemed Souls, all players will now have the 20 Redeemed Souls version of the weekly quest Return Lost Souls, regardless of renown level. For those who don't remember, because it was like 50 years ago, it started at 5, then it moved up to 20 from brackets, and now it's going to be 20 forever. They're also adding a repeatable quest to gather 20 additional redeemed souls for players looking to progress their Covenant Sanctum faster. Now, I remember reading some reactions from this, and people were kind of complaining. It's like, oh, why don't we just lift the quest, right? Just lift the quest, let people do the clicks, because after all, it's just a click, 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 click. The only thing that makes me think otherwise would be that, well, you do get renown by turning in these souls and whatnot, at least when you're below a certain level. But if we're getting such a big renown skip, it might not be such a big deal. If anything, though, I'm happy to at least have something. The friction of having to go back, turn in, pick up a quest, and then go through those motions, it is a little bit inconvenient, but better than waiting for a week, that's for sure. Moving on to dungeons and raids, there's going to be Legion Timewalking. Nice. This event will run for 2 weeks the first time it runs within the game, and then will resume a regular 1 week schedule for subsequent bonus events. There's going to be the following time dungeons will be available: Blackrock Hold, Eye of Ashara, Darkheart Thicket, Vault of the Wardens, blah, Neltharian's Lair, and Court of Stars. Cool. The list of available dungeons during Timewalking holidays has been... You know what? Let me stop for a second. Oh man, thank goodness they're not doing like Cathedral and they're not doing the one in Argus. Totally forgot the name. Only tried doing it once. Had a bad experience. Never want to go back. And let's move on. The list of available dungeons during Timewalking holidays has been adjusted. Wait, the list of available dungeons has been adjusted? So does this apply to like all the other things too? Interesting. Anyway, time-worn keystones. This is a new thing. When Legion Timewalking is active, players can speak to somebody in Oribos to acquire a time-worn keystone, so I guess a second keystone, allowing access to max level Mythic Plus difficulty for these 6 Legion dungeons. Legion Mythic Plus dungeons accessed in this way have their own set of affixes, reward loot of the same item level as Shadowlands Mythic Plus dungeons, and count towards weekly Great Vault reward options. Items acquired from Legion Mythic Plus dungeons can be upgraded with Valor points, but will not appear in the Great Vault. So that's going to mean that stuff that we get from Legion dungeons, such as trinkets and not weapons, but trinkets and armor stuff and rings and whatever's, mostly trinkets, can be upgraded to a maximum of 246 depending on what your rating is. And that's going to be the only way to get it. The only way to get that max level stuff is going to be to basically have KSM. You gotta have KSM, and then you can upgrade these Legion trinkets. Now, of course, if I'm no theory crafter, but if these are as cool as we might think they are, that's going to cause a lot of friction because Timewalking only affords so many opportunities to get this sort of gear. I can see a lot of competition for people trying to get in on these like Legion dungeons, and especially depending on the difficulty. If they happen to be like, you know, if some of them happen to be easier than others and whatnot, you're going to see a lot of competition for that. But it also might be an opportunity, if it is easy, for people to push keys really, really high, even though my guess, this isn't going to count towards your score. But at the very least, you can sit on a really high level key that you can use to deplete and try to you know, take the easy way towards getting KSM by just not beating the time, but just being good enough so you can get score. But this is an interesting one. It's going to take a while for all this to really soak in. The whole notion of being able to do like a different kind of mythical. I wonder what kind of fixes are going to come in. You might have remembered me talking about this the other day. I was thinking like, okay, are we going to see like Shadowlands affixes? Are we going to see Legion affixes? Or I think predictably we're going to see the same Shadowlands affixes, just a different sort of, just a different set, you know, like, oh, it's going to be bolstering, quaking, whatever, in Shadowlands, but in Legion, it's going to be necrotic and this and this and that. So it might be the same stuff, just a different set. Legacy loot rules are now in place for Battle for Azeroth, raids, and dungeons. These encounters will now drop a fixed quantity of class agnostic loot, regardless of a loot size. Cool. It's coming sooner than before. I remember Ian was saying, "Oh, you know, yeah, it's gonna come the expansion afterwards," and well, thankfully he changed his mind, or he gave into pressure. Yeah, let's give ourselves a pat on the back for that. Well done, guys. The prompt to enter the Timewalking campaign random dungeon queue for all expansions will now occur after 5 minutes in the queue. It was 15 minutes. I think that's just in the event that people leave early or something like that. I'm actually not quite sure what that means. Moving on to Islands and Warfronts, which is the new one. You are now able to set sail on a normal, heroic, or mythic island expedition, alone or with a party of up to 3 players. Speak to your normal person in order to start it. So, sorry guys, for those of you who are hoping that you can just open up a menu and dive right in, you're going to have to go to Borealis or Desire Lore to activate these. Also, they lowered the amount of players required to queue for normal Battle of Stromgarde and Battle of Darkshore Warfronts to 5. It was 15. Cool. Having it, being able to solo it, I think to myself, they're going to have to like do quite a bit of tweaking in order to make it entirely soloable. in order, because you still got to like you still got to get resources, bring them in, upgrade stuff maybe. In this case, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. I'm not quite sure who's been doing Warfronts lately. I have no idea. Do you need 15 people to do it? Can people just kind of zip straight to the end and just take territories like super fast? Not too sure, but hey, fewer restrictions, the better. Moving on to items and rewards, players now only need to complete the achievement Breaching the Tomb on one character per account, so only do it one time, to begin the Legion class mount quests on the Broken Shore. Each character must still complete their class hall campaign, complete quests, and recruit their final Order Hall champion. So no skip there. You got to go through the motions, but at least thankfully one barrier was lifted. That's cool. Show off your complete transmog outfit to chat or online by easily sharing a link to it from the dressing room. Players will be able to mouse over these items to see how they can be collected, if they've already collected the appearance, or if it's an appearance that's accessible to the character viewing it. So you can share this. You can show this transmog outfit to chat or online. So it sounds like it's going to be like a super special link of sorts, where you'll link something in chat or whatever, and then in game we can mouse over it, we can take a look at stuff, cool, whatever. But apparently we can do it online too. So there might be some sort of website thing that Blizzard's working on where they will link, we'll be able to link to something on the Armory. Or it might be something like, or this might be some sort of special partnership with Wowhead, and we'll be able to link to Wowhead's dressing room, which would be cool, but I doubt it. Because if it was a Wowhead / WoW partnership, then it would have been in here. I think it would have been in there for there would have been some brand agreement. Oh, you got to mention us, Wowhead, we'll go us. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get a hold of this. A new rank of heirloom gear has been added, and all heirloom gear is now usable in Shadowlands and outside the threads of Fate. Cool. We all know how heirloom gear works these days. It doesn't give you additional XP. It just gives you perks, extra rest XP, and so on and so forth. Heirloom scouting maps that instantly explore all areas and grant all viable flight paths to your alt are now available for all expansions. At first, it was only available for Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms as written. Nice. That's super easy for alts. Moving on to Korthia and the Maw. Unlock access to additional fast travel options from Venari's Refuge to Perdition, Hold, and Desmotarian within the Maw. So just like the current allotment of portal transport thingamajiggers, they're adding 2 more. We probably have to buy them. They're not just given out for free. Completing quests from Archivist Rosur will provide access to an anima diverter within Korthia where anima can be directly deposited. So no having to go back all the way to your Covenant Sanctum. You can probably talk to a dude here after doing a couple of quests. I'm sure it won't take too long. Moving on to PvP stuff. Wait, where's the Maw skip? Do we see that? I don't know if we saw that. Maybe it's somewhere else. Player versus player. Lower item level PvP gear will now scale to a higher item level in PvP situations than before. This should reduce the power gap so that new characters can feel that they're able to complete in battlegrounds and arenas more readily. This change will not affect high item level PvP gear. Also, additional PvP titles and item level ranks have been added to provide a more granular, as in gradual, upgrade path for players climbing the ranks. So there's going to be more item level brackets based on the rankings here. It doesn't look like they gave specifics as to how the scaling is going to work, but basically it's probably going to give us like 1 or 2 item level brackets higher than it was before. But because of these smaller separations of 3, we're probably going to it should work out. Yeah, it should work out, obviously. Moving on to quests. Alternate characters on an account can now choose to skip, here we go, the introductory Shadowlands questline that takes place in the Maw by speaking to High Lord Darin Morgraine after accepting the quest Shadowlands, a chilling summons. I think that's when you're still in the capital. So talk to the dude, get the quests. Don't go into the portal over to Icecrown. Go ahead and talk to Morgraine again, and you might be able to skip it. I presume it's gonna like zip you straight to that point in time in Oribos where you're left to choose Threads of Fate or not. Moving on to rune carving, the rune carver will now offer to destroy an existing legendary item and return all of the soul ash or soul cinders that were spent to create the item. Nice. Not so nice is the fact that we don't get any other resources back, notably the base piece item. But given the higher availability of those things, of those Korthite crystal thingamajiggers, prices have been going down. I think this is going to be more accessible. Folks should be reasonably happy, especially later when 9.2 comes out, and we're probably going to have to, like, you know, move our legendary from one slot to another again, because we're going to learn, like, oh, to make a tier set bonus, because that's presumably coming back in 9.2. In order to make a tier set bonus, I'm going to have to move my legendary from this to this and this. Oh, well. But I think by then people will have plenty of resources, and it's not going to be like the end of the world. Actually, it will be the end of the world. There's going to be endless complaints over it, but oh well. We'll get to that when we get to it, right? Let's see. Drops for rune carving recipes increase to 100% drop on any difficulty. Cool. So just easier to get stuff. Moving on to Threads of Fate, Talinar now offers a Torghast Tower of the Damned daily quest for experience and soul ash. Now this is interesting. So now one, we haven't seen everything yet, but and I haven't even read all these patch notes before starting this recording, but so we'll be able to enter Torghast while leveling. Cool. There's also going to be a daily to get experience and soul ash. So I wonder just how much. I wonder how much experience we'll be able to get if this is going to be like a daily sort of thing. But also they're going to offer PvP battlegrounds. You're gonna get a daily for getting experience. Threads of Fate, but also Threads of Fate bonus objectives are now much shorter and award renown. And the big zone objectives now award higher item level gear and anima. I know that on a lot of my alts, I skipped doing those not the big zone objectives. Those were cool, but the bonus objectives, I was like, whatever. This takes way too long. I get way more credit. I get way more quest credits by doing like the quests and other such things. Like I had a whole system, like it was super efficient, but improvements all around, very cool. Haven't seen this Torghast access yet though, so maybe we'll find this somewhere. Moving on to user interface and accessibility. Updated the requirements to participate in the newcomer guide system. Players can now opt in after completing 3,000 quests and reaching max level. I don't even know what it was before. Improved gamepad compatibility, including support for touchpad and gyro. Wait, gyro? For real? I wonder what's that going to do. Is that going to let us like lean our heads? Is it going to let us strafe? Oh, that'd be pretty sweet. If you can be like on the gamepad, you're like doing stuff and you're moving forward and then you're strafing left and then you're strafing. Oh, that'd be kind of neat. Mythic Plus and PvP ratings can now be shared through a chat link with a shift click. Fun. Item upgrade UI has been reworked. Hopefully it'll let us upgrade from like the low thing to like the high thing instead of having to spam click a whole bunch of times. That'd be nice. Group Finder requirements. Search now allows a numeric range. So they added search fields or whatever. So put in 5 through 9 and then you see a bunch of levels. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. Autofill group finder information based on the creator's keystone. The information can still be manually entered. Fun. Group creators can now set a minimum Mythic Plus or PvP rating requirement for applicants. So now the toxicity is coming to a point where you can't even see you can't even see groups because your thing is not high enough. While I did kind of dig at that a little bit, it does help to clean up that sort of toxicity where you try to sign up for a group and then you get rejected because your score isn't high enough. Now at least having the game control a little bit of that and taking a little bit of that like social interaction away. It's debatable, but I think that kind of helps because it's more like, hey, I'll get mad at the game because my thing's not high enough and no one's looking for a group with with a score that low, rather than getting pissed off at the person because, oh, well, you know, I'm trying my best here and this person's not bringing me in because that person has 2 more score than me. Pfft, whatever. So I'll be interested to see what your guys' thoughts are on this and everything else. And group creators can now select a playstyle to set expectations for their group. Oh, that's different. Select a playstyle to set expectations for the group. So is there going to be a pull-down menu? And the pull-down menu is going to be like, yeah, we're here to complete. We're like the best of the best. Or like over here, yeah, I'm streaming, and so I'm going to humiliate you. Or you can humiliate me publicly. Or you can be like, hey, we're just here to complete. We're here to kind of cheese this, but we at least want to do stuff to like get it on time. And then there's like the, hey, dude, I'm like super high right now. What are we doing again? I just want to get my vault loot. Come on, man. So I'm interested to see what sorts of selections of playstyle there are. Unless it's like, oh, I'm looking for AOE DPS or something like that. Then that's really boring. Moving on, reporters will receive a message when their report results in action being taken. Offenders will receive a message of any current and future penalties if their behavior is not corrected. Good. Text-to-speech settings are going to be saved on server, and added an option to also save the settings account-wide. I guess they happen to reset whenever you log out. And the option to add voice transcription output to any chat frame and change the font color. So that's going to be whenever we talk into the chat thing and it types stuff out, it's going to look different. Cool. One thing that I didn't see here was, well, there are probably many things that I missed or glossed over, like the class changes, obviously, but I didn't see anything about entering Torghast, just being able to enter Torghast. So this is the best we've got. Telenar now offers a Torghast Tower of the Damned daily quest for experience and soul ash. I guess we'll check that out when we get to test out this build sometime tomorrow. But pretty extensive notes so far. Like I said, there's a lot of class changes that are happening that are going to be that are just gonna kind of go all over the place. Some of these like look kind of cool, kind of fun, whatever. We'll have to see over the next couple of builds though, to see how things kind of things kind of like shake up and eventually smooth out. And then we'll see how things go. But that's it for the patch notes. I was reading for a really long time. I apologize, but I wanted to be as articulate as I could with my little bits of reactions and what. But what do you folks think? Cool so far? Not so cool? Too little, too late? Well, we've already heard that already. But yeah, feel free to open up. The floor is yours. So that's gonna be it, and I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow, and we can start taking a look at this build to find out what other things might be in here that were not included in the patch notes. Thanks for coming. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.